It's not been the best week for Liverpool, certainly one of the few dark moments in our fantastic run this season. Despite missing out on a treble, Liverpool still looks set to win the Premier League by some margin, which, for most fans, makes this a successful season. However, despite having the title within reach, certain pundits still try to criticise Liverpool when we are down, regardless of how their own teams are performing. One person often guilty of this is Gary Neville. The former Manchester United fullback cannot keep Liverpool out of his mouth, and we will examine what the obsessed pundit has had to say about the Reds following our Carabao Cup defeat to Newcastle. We will delve into this today whilst also covering all the latest Liverpool news from the last 24 hours. There is so much to discuss in today's video, so be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for daily Liverpool content. But first, Federico Chiesa finds himself in a unique position compared to the rest of the Liverpool squad this month, which could give him an advantage. After his Carabao Cup final goal, Chiesa scored his second goal for Liverpool in the closing stages of Sunday's 2-1 defeat to Newcastle at Wembley, amplifying calls for more game time. Supporters are now hopeful that the Italian, who has only started in 3 of his 11 appearances for the club so far, could be more heavily involved in the final 9 games of the campaign. That could be boosted by the fact that Chiesa is the only fit outfield player who is not on international duty this month. With 20 senior Liverpool players called up, the winger was the only player overlooked by his national team coach for reasons other than injury. Chiesa's absence from the Italy squad is due to his lack of appearances for Liverpool, with Slot clearly not trusting him to either start or frequently come on from the bench. However, with the 27-year-old able to spend the next fortnight focusing on training and taking a mental break after a frustrating week for the Reds, he could return to Merseyside in a stronger position than those on duty. Fellow forwards Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Diogo Jota, and Darwin Núñez will all join their national teams this week and almost certainly add to their workload for the season during World Cup qualifiers and UEFA Nations League clashes. Having Chiesa fresh, particularly following his positive impact in the Carabao Cup final, could prompt Slot to call upon his number 14 upon the restart. That is unlikely to be as a starter, regardless of fan sentiment, but the winger seemed to prove a point with how sharp he looked in his cameo against Newcastle. Liverpool have a 17-day break between fixtures, with their next match at home to Everton on the 2nd of April. They need 5 wins in their remaining 9 Premier League games to secure the title. Chiesa is also 2 games short of the 5-appearance threshold to be guaranteed a medal if the Reds win the title, as expected. While he would almost certainly be given a medal regardless, there is every chance Slot turns to his only summer signing more often in the final 2 months of the season. The only other senior players not on international duty this month are the injured quartet of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Joe Gomez, Connor Bradley, and Tyler Morton, along with goalkeeper Slav Jaro, who is on the standby list for the Czech Republic, meaning he could also be called up if injuries occur in their initial selection. Now, Gary Neville has made his thoughts known after the Carabao Cup final. The former Man United fullback has slammed Liverpool boss Slot after the Reds lost 2-1 to Newcastle in the League Cup final. The Magpies won their first domestic trophy in 70 years at Wembley on Sunday. Liverpool were second best for most of the game, as Newcastle carved out the best chances. Dan Burn headed the Magpies into the lead on the stroke of half-time before star striker Alexander Isak knocked in their second only 7 minutes after the break. Federico Chiesa did get a goal back for Liverpool in the 4th minute of injury time at the end of the second half. Slot made a number of changes in the second half to try and rescue the match, but Neville believes Liverpool got even worse when the substitutes were introduced. Speaking after Curtis Jones, Darwin Núñez, and Cody Gakpo entered the action, Neville said, "If anything, Liverpool are getting worse." The former United fullback added, "The substitutes haven't helped them. The midfield is scattered, there are gaps everywhere." Neville later claimed that Slot's decisions and tactics were throwing shape out of the window for Liverpool. He reiterated, "The substitutes haven't helped them. The midfield is scattered, there are gaps everywhere." Liverpool boss Slot admitted his team found it difficult to handle a week that included being knocked out of the Champions League by Paris Saint-Germain and losing to Newcastle. Slot said in a post-match press conference, "Disappointing result, disappointing performance, completely different than I felt after the PSG game. Losing twice in a row is something I think we have done for the first time, but that probably also comes with going into the latter stages of a tournament. Facing PSG and Newcastle in a final are 2 very good teams, each in their own style, but both are very difficult teams to face. We already knew from the game at St James Park how difficult it is to beat them. It was a tough week, but we also extended our lead in the Premier League to 12 points from 10, so it wasn't all negative. But the last 2 results were definitely not what we wanted." What do you make of Neville's comments? Let me know down below. Finally, head coach Arne Slot tried to put a positive spin on his worst week as Liverpool head coach. After exiting the Champions League to Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday, they lost a Carabao Cup final. They were favourites to win 2-1 to Newcastle. Arsenal's win over Chelsea earlier in the day meant Liverpool's lead at the top of the Premier League was cut to 12 points. Disappointing result, disappointing performance, completely different to how I felt after the PSG game, Slot said after Liverpool lost back-to-back games for the first time since April. It took us 7 or 8 months to lose twice in a row, and it happened against two teams, one fighting for Champions League qualification and the other PSG. I want to make clear that the week started really well with us beating Southampton. You know that if you go further into tournaments, the opposition gets stronger and stronger, and even Liverpool can lose games. It was a tough week, but also a week where we extended our lead to 12 points from 10, but the last two results were definitely not what we wanted. The Dutchman insisted Liverpool were not feeling the effects of a demanding season in which, until Tuesday, they were in genuine contention for 3 trophies. Mentally is always difficult to judge. Were we, on Tuesday, mentally or physically tired? No, he added. This game had nothing to do with running but only with duels. There was no intensity in terms of running in this game at all, so you can't judge if we were tired mentally or physically because we could not press them. You can judge a team if they press, but there was nothing to press because they played over our press. Mentally, that's a difficult one. If you look at the result or the performance, you might feel it maybe did something to us, but I prefer to look at how this game went, and it went exactly how they wanted it to be, a fight with a lot of duels through the air. That is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for daily Liverpool content. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.